Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Brook will awaken in Elbaf, and I'm going to reveal all of this to you in today's video. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, Brook is one of the most underrated characters in One Piece, but I think if we take everything shown so far into account, he has the potential to reach an awakening that would put him on a completely different level. Since his first appearance in Chapter 442, it has been clear that his Akuma no Mi, the Yomi Yomi no Mi, is unique. Unlike other devil fruits, its true power only manifested after he lost his life for the first time to Maiki, allowing his soul to return to the world. But that means there's still much more to explore. If the awakening of Zoan-type fruits increases resilience and recovery, and the awakening of Paramecia fruits expands the properties of their powers, then the awakening of a fruit like Brook's could mean something much bigger, something that transcends the very notion of life and spirit. Considering what was shown in Chapter 1076, when Gunko declared himself a fan of Brook, this might be an indication that he will have a major role in Elbaf. And what if this is the moment when he awakens his fruit? I think it would be a perfect development. Brook has always had a strong connection to the spiritual world, being able to project his soul, resist physical attacks because he doesn't have a conventional body, and even manipulate the cold of the land of the dead. But what if the awakening took this to an even higher level? Maybe Brook could expand his influence over the souls around him, allowing him to interact with spirits in a more intense way. In Chapter 998, when Marco explains the blue flame of regeneration, it became clear that there are powers that transcend the physical and act directly on the essence of life. Brook, being someone who has already gone through the process of leaving his body and returning, might be able to manipulate this energy in a way no one else can. If he awakened, he could temporarily grant the afterlife life state to allies, making them immune to conventional attacks for a short period. This would mean he could temporarily turn an ally into something similar to him, someone with extremely high resistance to physical blows. Or maybe he could directly interfere with the spirits of his enemies, weakening their energy and making them vulnerable. This makes sense when we think about what happened in Chapter 890, when Brook was the only one capable of cutting the souls of Big Mom's homies, something no one else could do. If he can already affect the spiritual essence of creatures created by Big Mom herself, then perhaps his awakening would allow him to directly manipulate the heart or soul of any living being. This would make him a massive threat to any enemy that relies on strong life force, like the giants of Elbaf themselves. But there's another possibility. In Chapter 881, when Brook uses his technique permeating the coldness of the afterlife, it became clear that he can manipulate cold in a way beyond the normal. This might be linked to the concept that his soul comes from the other side, a world of darkness and ice. If his awakening amplified this, he could create an environment where the temperature itself was controlled by him, a beyond life zone, where the cold would drain the vital energy of his adversaries and strengthen allies. And what if the awakening of the Yomi Yomi no Mi allowed Brook to transcend his physical form even further? He can already separate from his body and travel as a soul, but maybe his true awakening would allow him to exist in multiple forms at once. He could be in several places simultaneously, as if he were a living manifestation of spiritual energy itself. This would make him impossible to capture or contain, allowing him to fight at multiple points at the same time. And what if he could completely rebuild himself, even if his body was destroyed? In Chapter 844, when Brook survives a devastating blow from Big Mom, it's clear that his resistance is abnormally high. If his awakening amplified this, then perhaps he could never truly be defeated. Every time he was struck, his soul would simply reconstitute itself in another form, making him a true immortal. I think that if Brook does indeed have a significant role in Elbaf, then his awakening might be essential to that. Maybe he'll need to face something only a being who has transcended life itself can combat. Or maybe he'll discover more about his own Akuma no Mi, something even he didn't know until now. If the Yomi Yomi no Mi has an awakening, then it might be far beyond anything anyone imagined. And this could elevate Brook to a level that would make him one of the most important pieces of the crew. Continuing the thought about Brook's awakening, let's delve even further into how his Akuma no Mi, the Yomi Yomi no Mi, could evolve into something completely innovative, going beyond the limits of what we've seen so far. In Elbaf, Brook's potential isn't just limited to physical fights or spiritual battles, but to the ability to influence the very laws of life and death in ways even he might not predict. What if the true essence of his power lies in shaping the very soul of people, altering their connection to the spiritual spiritual world in an absolute way. The great strength of the Yomi Yomi no Mi lies in the fact that Brook, upon dying, not only survived, but also received a second chance at life, with his soul having the power to return to the world of the living. And this ability to come back to life isn't just a superficial recovery, but a true interaction with the spiritual realm that Brook has been accessing throughout his journey. With the awakening of this fruit, he could not only return to the world of the living, but also send the souls of his enemies to the underworld, perhaps even beyond what he already does with Big Mom's homies. Imagine, for example, that Brook has the ability to trap a soul in limbo, in a state of permanent death, where the being could no longer access its vitality to regenerate or fight. This control over the underworld wouldn't just be a passive spiritual manipulation, but an active one, capable of determining who can live and who must die, creating immense power over life and death. A practical example of this would be the use of a technique where Brook would be able to extract a person's soul and imprison it in a specific place, controlling the fate of any being touched by his ability. He could potentially trap the souls of powerful enemies, neutralizing them completely while their bodies remain lifeless, with no chance of returning. Luffy himself, being a central figure who frequently challenges the conventions of life and death, could in the most critical moment benefit from Brook's technique being protected by his companion's spiritual influence, while his enemies would be removed from the game, with no chance of reincarnation or recovery. This concept of enslaving souls or taking them to a kind of prison in the underworld would open a range of possibilities for the plot, especially when considering the type of characters Brook could face in Elbaf. The giant race, for example, is made up of beings with great physical power, but who depend heavily on life force to maintain their energy and endurance. If Brook could manipulate these souls, he could indirectly weaken a giant physically, or even other powerful beings like admirals or Yonko, stripping them of their life force or weakening their spiritual energy. Specifically talking about Elbaf, where the giants are known for their immense strength and resistance, Brook could become the perfect antidote against these formidable warriors. Remember that the giants, despite being incredibly powerful, are highly dependent on their life energy to maintain their combat strength. The awakening of the Yomi Yomi no Mi could make Brook the key to defeating or weakening these giants by controlling the essence of their souls, preventing their vitality from recovering after attacks. In a way, Brook could use a technique similar to the soul dance, where he fragments his opponent's souls, removing parts of their life energy until their bodies become incapable of moving. This would open a unique opportunity for the story, as Elbaf is the land of giants, a place with a tradition of legendary warriors, making it the perfect setting for Brook to stand out with a power that until then might be completely unknown to the inhabitants of this place. The giants would not only be facing a physical enemy, but a force that could dominate their souls and their very existence in a brutal way. Brook would become a sort of catalyst, an entity that transcends physical combat and directly impacts the spiritual foundations of his opponents. Moreover, we cannot forget the influence of the underworld, which connects to the very concept of life and death in Elbaf. If Brook's connection to the spiritual world expands, he could even access a specific domain where the souls of giants before dissipating could be summoned, creating a bond between their existences and Elbaf's legacy itself. This could result in a unique connection between the warrior culture of the giants and Brook's ability to manipulate death, making him not only a powerful ally to Luffy, but also a significant link to Elbaf's history. Another fascinating aspect of the awakening of the Yomi no Mi could be Brook's ability to manifest in multiple forms at once. The fact that his soul already has the ability to separate from his body and act independently opens a range of possibilities. During the awakening, this ability could expand so that Brook could manifest several projections of himself, literally being in multiple places simultaneously, intervening in different battles and situations without the enemy knowing how to contain him. But what do you think about this? Comment below. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.